Have you ever noticed that some people walk into a room and everyone feels it before they even speak? They are not loud. They are not trying to be seen. They do not need to prove anything. And yet, without saying a word, they become the most respected person in the room. That is not luck. That is presence. That is the silent power of body language, shaped by inner discipline and ancient wisdom. It is what the Stoics mastered centuries ago, and what few people understand today in a world where everyone is shouting to be heard. The ones who are quiet become unforgettable. Their stillness draws more attention than noise ever could. Their eye contact is calm, not confrontational. Their posture is steady, not performative. Their energy says, I am not here to impress. I am here because I have mastered myself. This kind of presence cannot be faked. It cannot be bought. It must be built slowly, intentionally, from the inside out. The Stoics knew this. They knew that your body speaks before your mouth ever opens, and what it says will shape how the world sees you. Marcus Aurelius walked through crowds, not trying to stand out, but everyone moved aside anyway, not because he acted like a king, but because he carried himself like one. He did not posture. He did not perform. He simply existed with so much inner clarity that his very presence created space around him. Imagine being that kind of person, not the loudest, not the flashiest, but the most grounded, the most respected, the one everyone watches without even knowing. Why? That is the power of Stoic body language. And in this video, you are going to learn exactly how to build it. We will break down 5 key elements of Stoic nonverbal power: how your posture signals calm, how your movements project control, how your stillness creates presence, how your gaze communicates dominance without aggression, and how restraint and expression becomes your most powerful tool. These are not tricks. These are not gestures you copy in front of a mirror. These are rooted in philosophy, in training, in a way of life. When you live with purpose, it shows. When you carry yourself with control, people feel it. When you no longer seek validation, your body reflects that freedom. And that is what earns real respect, quietly, without force, without explanation. So, if you are ready to stop chasing approval, if you want to stop being ignored or underestimated and start becoming the kind of man or woman who commands attention without even speaking, then stay with this message until the end, because when you master this, your presence alone will become your signature. You will not need to prove anything. You will already be someone others cannot ignore. The Stoic posture of power, calm over tension. Your posture is the first language your body speaks, and the Stoics understood that before you say a single word, people already begin to decide who you are. A man slouched over with eyes down and shoulders collapsed sends a message of defeat, even if he is speaking about strength. A woman fidgeting with her hands or darting her eyes around a room says she is unsure, even when her words sound confident. But the Stoic sends no such mixed messages. They carry themselves with a quiet posture that speaks of calm command. They are not rigid like a soldier, nor casual like someone who does not care. They are alert, but relaxed, grounded, yet fluid. This is the Stoic posture of power, not force, not fake, but centered. It begins with the spine straight and shoulders back, not puffed with ego, but balanced with presence. The head is held high, not to look down on others, but to remain open and aware of the world. The chest is open, not to show dominance, but to signal nothing, to hide. This posture does not say I am better. It says I am ready. I am clear. I am not here to prove anything, because I have already proven it to myself. Marcus Aurelius sat with the weight of an empire on his shoulders, yet his writings speak of poise, of balance, of stillness. He did not need to shout orders, because his presence carried authority. He did not chase attention, because his composure drew it. The Stoic knows that posture is not just for others, it is for the self. It reminds you of who you are even when you forget. It pulls you back into the present moment. When the body is aligned, the mind becomes harder to shake. When your breath is slow and your stance is firm, you begin to feel a shift. You stop being reactive. You become grounded. And this grounding is what most people lack. People who live in constant tension, who are always fidgeting, twitching, bracing against imagined threats, are not perceived as powerful. They are perceived as unstable. But the Stoic uses posture as a quiet weapon. Their stillness makes people pause. Their balance makes others uncertain. You see, calm is rare. Most people are ruled by emotion, by environment, by ego. And so when someone walks into a room without that noise, without that nervous energy, without that hidden need for validation. They are noticed even if they say nothing. That is the true posture of power, not dominance, not intimidation, just centered stillness. Think of it as controlled neutrality. Your body is relaxed, but awake. You are engaged, but not reactive. You are aware, but not aggressive. You do not shrink, but you do not inflate either. And this balance confuses people because it does not fit into the patterns they are used to. They expect tension, they expect insecurity, they expect performance, but you give them none of that. You just stand, you just breathe. And that quiet simplicity becomes strength. The Stoic posture is a daily practice. It is not about posing in the mirror. It is about carrying your spine like a sword, your breath like a rhythm, and your gaze like a mirror. Calm, steady, direct people will test you. They will try to provoke you. They will try to pull you into their chaos. But when your body remains still, when your posture does not flinch, you silently communicate, I cannot be moved. That is respect earned without words. That is the kind of presence that cannot be faked. And the more you live in that posture, the more you become it. You do not pretend to be calm. You are calm. You do not act confident. You are grounded. That is what Stoic posture teaches you: power without tension, authority without arrogance, presence without performance, eye contact and gaze, seeing without intimidating. The eyes are not just windows to the soul. They are mirrors of your mind. They reveal what you feel, what you fear, what you desire. And this is why the Stoic gaze holds such power. It is not aggressive. It is not cold. It is calm, steady, and clear. It does not demand attention. It invites awareness. When you look at someone with a grounded gaze, not wide and anxious, not narrow and piercing, but direct and calm, you create a connection that goes beyond words. Most people avoid eye contact because they are unsure of themselves. They are afraid of being seen too clearly, or they are too distracted to hold attention. Their eyes wander, their focus breaks, and their presence dissolves in the process. But the Stoic looks with purpose. They do not stare to dominate. They look to understand. They see not just the surface of a person, but the deeper layers beneath their posture, their tone, their motives, their emotions. A Stoic gaze is slow, intentional, and steady. It is the kind of eye contact that tells others, I am fully here, I am fully aware, and I am not afraid to meet you where you are. This quiet intensity confuses people because it is not the gaze of someone trying to prove something. It is the gaze of someone who already knows who they are. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about being present in each moment fully and without resistance. That presence extended even to the way he looked at the world. His eyes were tools of perception, not weapons of control. Epictetus taught his students to examine not just their thoughts, but the way they see others, because perception shapes response. And when your gaze is grounded, your response is too. When you meet people with clear, calm eye contact, you silently say, I am not looking away. I am not hiding. I am not here to manipulate. I am simply here to see. And that kind of honesty is rare in a world where people either stare with dominance or avoid with discomfort. The Stoic walks the middle path. Their eye contact is steady, but never invasive. It is firm, but never aggressive. This creates a quiet mystery because people are used to being looked at with either hunger or fear. The Stoic offers neither, just clarity. And that clarity is unsettling to some because it is hard to lie to someone who sees without judging. It is hard to manipulate someone who is not impressed or disturbed by appearances. The Stoic gaze cuts through performance, not by force, but by stillness. It observes not to control, but to understand. That is power not in volume, but in vision to develop. This kind of gaze begins by learning to be fully present. Stop looking around the room for approval. Stop scanning for threats. Stop flinching under pressure. Look directly at what is in front of you with soft but steady focus. Breathe slowly. Let your eyes rest in place without chasing movement. When speaking to someone, hold their gaze without leaning in or pulling back. When listening, let your eyes reflect that you are receiving, not reacting. This kind of eye contact creates respect, not because it is forceful, but because it is full of attention. In a distracted world, full attention is rare, and what is rare becomes powerful. So remember, the Stoic does not look to impress. They look to understand. They do not seek to be intimidating. They seek to be unshakable. Their eyes reflect their mind, still calm, present. And that is why when a Stoic looks at you, you remember it long after they have walked away. Stillness and movement. When your body speaks more than words, there is something deeply commanding about a person who moves with purpose and rests with calm. They do not fidget. They do not pace without reason. They do not fill space. With unnecessary motion, their stillness speaks louder than most people's words, and when they do move, it is deliberate, smooth, and focused. This is the Stoic way, a language of restraint that communicates power without ever needing to say a word. In every room you enter, people are constantly shifting, tapping, checking their phones, adjusting their clothes, laughing too loudly, or reacting too quickly. Their movements expose their inner chaos. They show their nerves, their lack of control, their dependence on attention. But the Stoic is different. The Stoic remains still, not because they are frozen, but because they are rooted. Stillness is not inactivity, it is stability, it is presence, it is knowing you do not need to move unless something truly requires it. Think of a lion in the wild. It does not waste energy, it does not announce its power with noise. It simply exists, and everyone around it feels that presence. That is what true stillness looks like. Controlled, alive, intentional. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, and yet he wrote of the value of retreating inward, of anchoring yourself in a kind of stillness that no outside event could disturb. The Stoic finds this anchor in the way they carry themselves. They stand without slouching, they sit without squirming, they walk without rushing. Everything is intentional, everything is grounded. Even their smallest movements carry meaning, because the Stoic knows that the way you move reflects the way you think. Jerky, anxious, rushed movements are the body acting without the mind, but the Stoic moves with the mind in control. Each gesture has weight, each step has direction. They do not overextend, they do not exaggerate, they do only what is necessary. And in that simplicity, they become powerful. Movement becomes a kind of silent vocabulary. When the Stoic enters a room, they do not rush to be seen, but people notice them anyway because of the way they move with focus and calm. They do not need to push past people or throw their hands around to command attention. They simply exist in alignment, and that alignment draws the eye. Think about how powerful it is to sit still in a conversation while others are constantly reacting or shifting. People begin to wonder what you are thinking, what you are feeling, why you are so calm, and in that wondering, your presence grows stronger. Stillness becomes your shield. Movement becomes your message. You are no longer just another body in the room. You are an anchor. Others feel it even if they cannot explain it. And when you finally do move even slightly, people pay attention because you have taught them that your actions are never wasted. You have trained them to notice your presence without needing to perform. This is what separates the Stoic from the crowd. They are not motionless out of fear, but out of mastery. They are not stiff, they are composed. Their body speaks with minimal effort, maximum clarity. When they cross a room, their path is straight. When they gesture, their hands move slowly with precision. When they pause, it is full of meaning, not awkwardness. Their movements flow like their thoughts, smoothly, without clutter. And this becomes your silent advantage in a world addicted to distraction, to noise, to constant motion. Your stillness becomes rare, and what is rare becomes respected. So if you want to embody Stoic presence, begin by observing your movements. Catch yourself in the habits of tension. Ask yourself, am I rushing where I do not need to? Am I moving out of anxiety? Am I reacting or choosing? And then begin to simplify. Pause more, breathe more. Let your movements follow your mind, not your fear. Train your body to be an extension of your clarity, not your chaos. And you will begin to speak through stillness louder than most ever will with words. That is the art of Stoic movement, to be still, not to disappear, but to command attention. Through calm, to move not to impress, but to express purpose. And in that balance, you create respect without ever needing to ask for it. The face of discipline, emotion without leakage. The face reveals more truth than the tongue ever does. Long before you speak, long after you stop, your face continues to communicate. It tells people what you fear, what you crave, what you lack. Most people do not even realize they are leaking emotion from their face. Their eyes widen in approval, their mouth twitches in doubt, their forehead tightens with worry, or their expression constantly seeks validation. But the Stoic face is different. It does not betray the inner life. It does not broadcast insecurity. It does not seek sympathy or applause. It remains calm, focused, and composed. This is not because the Stoic is cold. It is because they are in control. They feel just as much as anyone else, but they do not let emotion dictate their expression. Theirs is a face trained by reason, shaped by awareness, and grounded in inner strength. When Epictetus spoke of training your mind like a muscle, he also meant training your reactions to match your principles. The Stoic knows that emotion itself is not weakness, but the lack of discipline around it is. Your face becomes a mirror, not of chaos, but of character. Think of a judge who listens not to react, but to understand. Think of a lion resting not because it lacks power, but because it knows when to use it. The Stoic face is like this neutral, yet present calm, but watchful. It says, I hear you, I see you, but I am not moved unless I choose to be. And this unsettles people, because they're used to faces that chase approval, faces that bend at the slightest discomfort. But your stillness, your unreadability, makes them hesitate. It makes them think twice. It gives you psychological space to lead, not by force, but by calm observation. This is not about being expressionless. It is about being intentional. Most people react before they even understand what they are reacting to, but the Stoic waits. There's no twitch of the mouth, no raising of the eyebrows, no nervous laugh. To the face remains still. The gaze remains focused, and in that stillness is power, because what people cannot read, they must respect. What they cannot predict, they must observe. And when they observe you, they begin to feel your presence, not because you are loud, but because you are undisturbed. Even your smile, when you choose to give it, carries more weight, because it is not given freely. It is not a default. It is a deliberate choice, a controlled signal of peace or warmth, not a leak of nervousness or desire. To be like the Stoic knows that when your face is a slave to emotion, you have no presence. You become readable, predictable, manipulable. But when your face is governed by reason, by breath, by clarity, you become hard to shake, hard to distract, hard to move. This creates space. In every interaction, people sense that they cannot rattle you. They cannot bait you into reacting. They must deal with your ideas, your energy, your will, not your emotion. And that creates respect. Silence on the face becomes strength in the mind. If you want to build this practice, begin by observing yourself in moments of stress. What does your face do? Do your eyebrows jump up? Do you smirk? Do you bite your lip or show the tension in your jaw? Begin to smooth those reactions, not by forcing blankness, but by returning to breath. Use the breath to soften the face. Use your awareness to pause before reacting. Choose your expressions like a craftsman chooses tools only when needed, never more than necessary. This subtle shift changes how people read you. Suddenly they are not sure what you are thinking. They cannot tell if you are angry or amused, and that uncertainty gives you control, because you are not leaking energy. You are storing it. You are guiding it, and you are protecting your center. That is the face of discipline, not a mask, not fake serenity, but true control, a reflection of the inner strength you are building day by day. So, when you look in the mirror, ask yourself this simple question: does my face reflect noise or clarity? And then train until the answer is clarity every time. Respect is not something you ask for. It is something you become, and the way you carry yourself tells the world who you are long before you speak. In the ancient world, the Stoics walked through chaos, through war, through betrayal, through fame, and still held themselves like mountains, not because they were pretending to be strong, but because they had removed everything that made them weak. Their posture reflected discipline. Their gaze reflected clarity. Their movements reflected purpose. Their face reflected control. And that quiet presence earned them respect without ever demanding it. You can build the same strength, the same mystery, the same silent power, but not through tricks or tactics, through daily work on the inner life, through awareness, through restraint, through training. The body is a mirror of the mind. When your mind is anxious, the body leaks energy. When your mind is undisciplined, the body fidgets. When your mind seeks approval, the body performs. But when your mind is still, your posture becomes strong. When your values are clear, your face becomes calm. When your attention is rooted, your gaze becomes sharp. This is what the Stoics knew. You cannot fake presence. You must forge it. You do not need to raise your voice to lead. You only need to lower your reactivity. You do not need to puff your chest to command a room. You only need to stand with quiet certainty. You do not need to intimidate. You only need to be unmoved. That is what creates real gravity, real depth, real command. So, as you walk into your next room, remember this: you do not need to be loud. You do not need to be liked. You only need to be grounded, eyes steady, body still, mind clear, because that man, that woman becomes unforgettable in a world of distraction. You become focus in a world of noise. You become signal in a world of insecurity. You become stability. This is the work of a Stoic leader, and it starts right now. Let this be your daily practice. Stand straight, without tension. Breathe, without rushing. Move with intention. Speak only when needed. Let your face reflect thought, not panic. Let your gaze rest calmly in truth. Let your silence be full of clarity. And above all, train until your body reflects your principles, not your moods. Train until you no longer perform. You simply live. You no longer seek respect. You are respect. And when people feel it, they may not know why, but they will know they are in the presence of someone who cannot be shaken. That is the silent power you were meant to carry. So if this message spoke to you, take it seriously. Rewatch this video, take notes, practice the posture, the gaze, the stillness, make it real. And if you want more on this journey, subscribe now and join a community that trains in ancient strength for the modern world. Share this with someone who needs less noise and more presence. And above all, remember, this true strength does not need to explain itself. It simply is. Be that.